Welcome, one and all, back to the Blizzard Arena. We've put up a full head of steam heading through week 4 of Stage 3. Everything's starting to come to a head now, as there are a lot of implications for many of these matches, Matt, as teams are trying to make their way not only into the Stage 3 playoffs, but the overall season playoffs are looming.
Yeah, I mean, the overall season playoffs is a great point, because as you know, we're deep into Stage 3 now. A lot of these teams are really focused on trying to get over the line for the Stage 3 playoffs, but we don't have much time left in the overall season. Yeah. Those overall playoffs and play-ins are going to come quick.
Look at that. You see that thing? That's right. Los Angeles Valiant going to be taking on the London Spitfire here in a game that promises to be really, really exciting, especially because the Valiant, you can definitely say they're on an upswing. This is our Stage 3 standings. The Spitfire are on the cusp of being in that playoff contention. The Valiant right now are nestled fairly comfortably in there at 4-2.
You know, 4-3 in previous stages has been like a cutoff, so to speak, to get in. But with NYXL undefeated, the Titans at 5-1, Spark at 5-1, you can certainly see the Dragons getting up there. You know, even up to 5-1. You know, only 2 losses for the Shock. You don't think they lose again.
So it gets harder to make it that cutoff.
Yeah, it's very tough. Where you know, a few weeks ago, you're looking at this Valiant team, you're like, oh man, they're going to cruise on into Stage 3 playoffs. They can make some noise. They may not even make it now.
I mean, speaking of making noise, it was the Spark that the Valiant went up against previously. Of course, yesterday, and it was a tough one for them. They went up against the Spark, you know, in Stage 1. Again, it was a map 5 loss. Hangzhou who were able to pull it out. Earlier than that, the Vancouver Titans were finally brought low by the Valiant. Look at, I mean, the excitement there was very clear to see. The arena was going off because that was the first regular stage loss the Titans have been hitting.
Like, do you get so hyped, though, after that game where you beat the Titans that you just kind of lay some duds out there, right? Where you know, everybody's so excited, we beat the Titans, everybody's celebrating. It's like you forget you have a few more games left on the schedule, right?
I mean, this week they've got, you know, back-to-back games on 2 consecutive days.
Hangzhou's tough team, and then here today against London, you can't really prepare for both of them. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, but the Valiant have one thing going for them, Matt, that definitely showcased itself in the match against Vancouver, is that they were pretty decent at dealing with a lot of those big you know, Sombra plays. Sominsu was shut down, and Profit, you can see here, Final Blows has been good. EMP efficiency, though, not so much, and that's definitely what you're grading Sombras on right now. You saw the Valiant were able to play well around a Sombra, you know, on the side of the Titans, which definitely wasn't one of their strong points. So there is a weak point here on London. The Valiant can also try and exploit.
Yeah, and I think, look, you look at that EMP efficiency, it is not good. You need to connect with more players than that, especially when you're playing the Sombra into a lot of teams playing the tanks, and the supports are all lumped together. You got to connect with like more than 2 players. So, but I think it's Profit just trying to learn the hero on the fly. Like it's such a difficult thing for him to do. Like London, like they always throw this stuff at him.
Well, yes, what happened when Birdring tried to learn Brigitte on the
fly? Well, all we needed somebody to play Zarya. Profit figured it out in 2 games. Like, hey, now we need a Sombra. Like, hey, figure it out. It's tough.
Well, now for the City of Angels, it's time to welcome to the stage your Los Angeles Valiant. Debated, it's London Spitfire. He should still stay standing. Give him some high fives.
The hometown team. London City.
We're off to a flyer of a start. Speaking of which, our London head out. Quartermain in the lead. Chalk another one up to Mitch there. That's not the first time. But again, we want to look at the DPS core of this team. We should expect this to be a bit of a DPS matchup.
Yeah, where I think you know, Profit's going to have to play better on the Sombra if they're going to play the Sombra comes. I also think Fury, big part in this. Fury's going to have to pick up some of the damage dealers. He played a really good Pharah in there in the game. We saw in the World Cup, he was able to play Soldier 76. Quartermain in the lineup again today, so you kind of like tossing up. Whereas Nuss, Quartermain in the lineup, so you're going to see Quartermain in today.
All right. Yeah, you guys are ready out there, I'm sure. For reals this time, let's welcome to the stage the Los Angeles Valiant. Home crowd really starting to swell up in recent times as this team has been on the upswing. Back fiction in that tank role, KSF being unlocked as a DPS, Kareev on the Ana dominating. Custer said he actually was sort of trying to prod Kareev to more Zen play, but Kareev said, no, I want to play the Ana, and we saw that showcase so much in their last couple matches. Shaq's also coming in, providing a lot of necessary support around the DPS.
It's almost wild to go back and look at like their early season footage and not see Kareev in the lineup, like playing that flex support role. Isiaki very good, you know, really kind of like talked up big coming into the season, but I know sometimes you have somebody really strong on your lineup, just play him as well. But you see Shaq's in here. This is going to be the Sombra matchup between these 2 teams. the Valiant, they formed a play style that works. They play a little bit more of the damage dealers. I think teams kind of taking a little bit about playbook, how they're trying to do hunters. And then I also think teams really figuring out how strong Sombra is and how strong Sombra can be worked into these compositions.
Two young, very talented players in the DPS role, and they are right now being tasked with that Sombra performance. Now, we have their raw stats here sort of to compare the players head-to-head, but neither of these two rank very highly in the grand scheme of the league. But bear in mind, these two have really just adopted Sombra, at least on the Overwatch League stage individually. So we keep an eye on those, we see how they trend up, and as obviously Sombra continues to make her mark on the current meta.
Yeah, it seems like Shaq's really the Valiant, following up on some of those hacks a little bit more. It's the map set presented by Toyota. It's the map set, I think, in this stage. Me and Josh and Brent and Johnny are talking about it. Really kind of determines a lot of these matchups pretty heavily. So Nepal, Volskaya, Hollywood, and Gibraltar.
So then what's your impression looking at this map, Paul? What do you expect to see?
So Nepal, you can play a ton of damage dealers. Volskaya, very good Sombra map. I think you can make an argument like offense or defensive. I think it's pretty strong all throughout. Hollywood, traditionally a really strong 3-3 map, but we're seeing more variation there. I think this is a pretty good map pool for the LA Valiant.
And the Valiant should be happy. Obviously, you're seeing a lot more thorough, sniper-focused play from them. Some teams have attempted it on this map. Philadelphia Fusion, for one. We saw Carpe make his return on Widowmaker on Sanctum. Didn't look great. He eventually had to switch, but let's see how long it lasts for these two teams. Out of the gates, the London Spitfire. Got to be the Orisa Roadhog, the pulled port combination with the Bird Ring on this Widowmaker. Agilities has to play this map pretty carefully.
I mean, this is a composition from the London Spitfire, like a little bit of a throwback back in time, really, between both of these teams. This is a composition that was run pretty heavily on Nepal in year one of the Overwatch League. Double sniper, the Orisa.
Ooh, first blood!
Yeah, that looked like it was actual. It was maybe a halt there from Fact Fiction that pulls Bird Ring out into Shax's line of sight, and you're able to get that first pickup.
Slightly easier to hit the shot when your opponent is immobilized and dragged in a prescribed direction. Hook, though, connects Agilities. He also got dragged on in, and now it's a 1-for-1. The London Spitfire have had to abdicate control of the point to set up that play, though. They had to play around the right-hand side. The Orisa was an important part of that. They're trying to go for picks one by one, cut the Valiant down to size before they push to the point, man. It's working.
Yeah, and I mean, that was eventually going to fall apart for the Valiant. Just they get that first pick, but when you have the double snipers out in play, it's not even really what comes down to first pick. It's like a lot about the positioning, trying to like hide a little bit. So what happens is his Bird Ring drops, gets first picked by Shax, but both tanks for London, they kind of wrap around. So Fact Fiction's on the point, he just has to kind of sit in the corner. He can't like rotate back around because if the snipers get around the shield, he can't replace a new shield. It's a difficult spot to be in, and Custa just kind of gets stuck on the bridge in no man's land. He gets taken out.
So the Valiant now trying to shift towards more of a Spitfire setup, and Shax has already gotten himself two. Oh, Widowmaker really getting some work done. Newest addition for the Valiant is looking absolutely hot to trot. Here's the push. You see the pressure on towards the Orisa shield. The hold above it. They caps Fury. He can't do anything about it. So much front-loaded damage there for the Valiant. Anyone who gets caught at the side of the Spitfire will vaporize.
And I think one thing with the Valiant that's, I don't know if we've really highlighted it enough. It's like this team kind of comes together out of nowhere, and their teamwork is very strong. I mean, Fact Fiction, I think, comes, obviously, you know, he played with Houston last year, then goes down to Contenders, comes back. Still playing very good in the main tank role where it's very difficult. Nice shot.
Look at that very small flick, that aim correction. Quartermain got dragged into that one.
Some Widows just kind of like line it up, and like, but a lot of them are just kind of flicking like that right now, right? Where you just kind of let the crosshair go. Sometimes it's just kind of risky in terms of like aim consistency, but it'll be walls for both Widows right now.
In for sight now for the Valiant, so they can see every move of the Spitfire. Nothing can be concealed from them. That is now expired, and with the Dragon Strike coming across the point, that has created some space for Lana to commit. Oh, this Dragon Strike could be even worse, though. The Halt just adds to it. Gonna catch a lot of the Spitfire inside the Dragon, and they were pulled in. They weren't able to avoid it. Great cleanup here for Fact Fiction. Agilities connecting those hooks, looking for another one, but Prophet leaps out the way.
I think for the Valiant, it's so important to get Agilities going. Like, we see him at times, and he can, like, dominate a game, like, completely take over. Like, he's that type of player. It's just you really need to keep him engaged. I don't think he really kind of found that on Brigitte. I think when you get him on heroes like the Pharah, the Roadhog, like, he comes in, maybe plays some Genji eventually as the series goes on, let's say. I think that's where you see this guy at his best.
Shax, 5 final blows from 6 eliminations, but Ocean is playing a dangerous game. Birdwing's able to find Fact Fiction first, so another trendsetter. Oh, what? I didn't even see Benotion there. Shax has Infrasight even when his ult's not up. Fair enough. Either way, it's not going to be enough. Birdwing finds his second for the fight. Shax will fall. Looks like the banner is somewhat permeable, man.
Well, you know, we have been on board with Shax, and he's been hitting a lot of nice shots, but how many of these fights have kicked off with the first pick from Birdwing? Whether it's on Cussa, even Shax himself, that time gets an early pick off. And I mean, this point's probably not as close as this is if Birdwing's not getting those entry kills, because then they're going to be forced to use some of these ultimates like the Dragon to kind of move their way onto the point.
I think he's had 3 of those entry
at
kills.
least.
Dragon Strike now to the point. Let's see what Spitfire do. Can they avoid this one?
Another
They're standing
entry
it
for
for a
Birdwing.
while. Look at them. They know they can take a... Oh, I tell you what, that's a bit risky, but with Birdwing doing so much damage and the focus and the rest of the Spitfire, you can just cut the Valiant down to size while the Spitfire weather the storm elsewhere.
Birdwing picks up 2 kills at the beginning of that fight.
Oh, here we go.
He's going to push forward, try and take a little bit of an off angle. Now has to back up because the walls are popped here by Shax. But if he's going to get a touch, it's going to be the Dragon. Pulled into the halt, you get Custa.
Nothing you can do about it. You see that there was an Orisa assist on that kill. It had to have been the halt. Both of these teams have a similar philosophy about how to play some of these rounds. The Spitfire, though, the execution just had that extra polish.
I think if you're London, though, I mean, if you're the London Spitfire and you're game planning for the match today, and you're like, hey, you know, the Valiant come out and run double sniper, what do we do? Like, well, we will easily opt into that matchup. We do not feel bad about that at all.
Birdwing, Widowmaker, I would
Profit
never
on the
complain
Hanzo
about.
as well. Take a look at this Birdwing flip.
The hold set up Shax.
And then he gets back here as well, yeah.
We haven't really seen a ton of that combo in the past. On a map like that, though, it kind of makes sense if it's so close quarters. But Holt's often used for pulling people off the map or setting up a Roadhog hook. Nice little adaptation.
Got 3 damage dealers on both sides. The solo tank Wrecking Ball, you see that a lot on this point. KSF on the Widowmaker, as you're going to have a little bit of different approach. Fury's going to be playing the Pharah here. It'll be interesting if Fury stays on Pharah. Like I mentioned in the pregame, Fury can play like Soldier 76, some other heroes as well.
These Ana players are going to be have to be a little bit wary. Neither team is playing a composition that's very easy to nail down. Both are super mobile. But look at this Fury, perfect angle. No one was even looking at him. KSF and Creeper down on agilities, one more air shot and he would be done. With Shax finding Profit though, there is still some wriggle room here for the Valiant. Custer struggling somewhat, but Gesture didn't really have much support there. And now Fury doesn't have such a great spot.
You do have Birdwing on Tracer, still lingering around here. This is Fury versus agilities in the air. And it's going to be Fury connecting with a rocket, and Custer's going to have to go up. Heal agilities is the point. Still not taken by anybody yet.
Kreef has to play from here, essentially. He's pretty easy to find if you're an enemy, but he needs this kind of line of sight to help out his tanks who are constantly moving. Otherwise, he would have to too, and that would just make it awful. That is a Nano Pharah here. No barrage available, so Agilities is just going in and try and clean up. Maybe it'll be a switch on the support role here, but Agilities, yeah, he gets hacked, and the barrage comes in for Fury. Shax trying to dance around it. He gets away with it too. Fury down. Gesture is slept, and the Valiant now need to regroup a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to decide to res Profit here as he's closer to EMP. The Nano Boost was used on the Gesture. I believe he gets hacked, and they want to make sure to keep him alive. They use the Nano Boost. As Profit trying to get in position here to land a big EMP. Not going to be able to do that now.
Okay.
I believe Profit actually gets slept because the Infrasight was up.
KSF descended upon by Gesture. He does have the hook, but getting up is a tricky thing. He needs to build the momentum, and he's able to do so. Back to the point goes Gesture. Fury, you'll notice he's a little bit low, trying to play out a line of sight. Gesture just walks straight back into a face full of rockets. And now back to the Pharaoh duel once more. But note, the Valiant have control of the point right now. They're happy to protract some of these fights for the time being.
Yeah, the EMP minefield though, so you know, you try and get a fight on the point. The thing with Sombra and these sites of comps is with everybody so spread out, it's kind of difficult to land one of those large EMPs. So really have to specialize who you're going to go up for.
You feel like you're kind of solo EMPing and trying to get more value out of the Sombra hack, the manual hack?
I mean, you're almost like, it's going to be the EMP that comes down here from, Shax as Profit uses his as well, even though they know that Gesture is pretty much going to drop here. So that EMP from Profit doesn't get anything. I was going to say, if you're Profit, you could almost go for the hack or the EMP onto the Pharah Mercy. At least you know you're going to get the 2.
We referred to this. Profit is 16th from League Sombras in EMP efficiency right now. Now, it can depend on what composition you're playing against with that Sombra as well, but still not a great number, and that was an example of Sombra's struggles. Yeah, getting flattened by Fact Fiction of all people.
He gets hacked, and then you know, he's already kind of on the Valiant side of the map, and then as Tracer, you don't have recall, you don't have blink. In this type of scenario, in a professional match, you're not going to last very long at all. I was looking at the top down, and as soon as I saw the icon flip to hack, 3 players from the Valiant just made a beeline over towards him. Lasted maybe a second after that, but you know, London, they've had a chance to amass some ultimates here. Same for the Valiant, but
that's a huge shot.
You haven't even, I mean, Fury's playing good here on the Hara, but playing it consistently into this Widow. They nano Fury to try and get some pressure in the back.
Notice that KSF is getting, oh, okay, Fury around the pillar. Nice. KSF, that wasn't a headshot kill on the Mercy, by the way, but he's getting some help from Kareev. KSF brought back into the fight. The Spitfire starting to run out of time here. Much of this round they've seen somewhat in disarray. They have scant seconds now to rectify that, but they've been blocked off on this high ground position. The Valiant are meeting them at every bridge. But Ocean is just going to get crushed. Nothing he can do there. So hard for Runner to find a safe space on this map. Jester's down. It's going to be a barrage here, but Agility says no. Fury just gets splattered as he tries to go for the coup de grace. KSF is pulse bombed out, but that EMP on the bird ring will mean he can't blink away. And the Valiant will even it up here on Nepal.
Now, Fury's numbers on the far are pretty comparable. 2 agilities, which is extremely impressive, but the Valiant, you know, there weren't really many fights for London after the point got flipped back into the Valiant's favor. It was really just like, you know, the Spitfire trying to get something going, moving on in, and then one person drops before you get an actual fight. I think where it almost kind of ends is when Prophet uses that EMP after Gesture gets taken out. There's nothing they can really do after that. I mean, you blow an ultimate like EMP in this type of game, in the meta that we're in right now, it's such a powerful ultimate. So,
especially when all of your other ultimates are not geared for, you know, AoE or teamfight winning potential.
No Widow here for the Valiant. They'll run Tracer instead for KSF. Birdring gonna bust out the Doomfist. Usually you don't see like Doomfist against Sombra because he loses all mobility, like a lot of, I mean, all his real like game-changing ability, you know, as soon as he gets hacked. But you have the Doomfist play the point. Maybe connect with a rocket punch onto somebody.
Jax just trying to hold the high ground right now. And there's a lot of pressure. Jester can't really roll into this. Not only is Shax not alone, but if he got hacked, Wrecking Ball would be very useless here. Multiple heroes on this side. They don't do much when they're hacked, but it doesn't really matter because the Spitfire have just circumvented the Sombra. Not worried about it at all. Shax is able to get Bidoshin, but the fight's already over. The rest of the Valiant overrun.
The Doom, you know, it's kind of funny. Like, you usually see like some teams like May in this type of scenario. Like the Doomfist just like around the point is scary. You can't just kind of like march on in because he just loads up a punch. He loads up a punch, you just have to like back out. You hear him load it up. You have to back out. You have to play pretty cautious. That time though, Birdring gets caught out there by Shaq. So that Sombra versus Doomfist matchup, you don't really love.
If he stays on that pick, it won't be the first time you see that happen.
Oh, they get a res up on him.
Birdring brought back, but Jester taken down also by a hack, and Birdring won't last much longer. Oh dear, that's not good for Fury. He's not going anywhere. Wings clipped. The Valiant roll through there. They force the Spitfire to challenge them on the point with a Sombra waiting in the wings. Everyone who walks through has their ability stripped away.
Nice. Some changes here for London. So Gesture will play Winston. So now it looks like you'll have a solo tank Winston, which is usually something you don't see that often, but in this scenario versus, let's say, your Ball, where Ball's a little bit more self-sustainable. Shax almost gets picked off there.
He was invisible!
Gesture gets taken out right away. I mean, there's not going to be a ton of support here for Gesture. Like, you don't see solo tank Winston all that often. Because he just does not have the adaptive shield that like the Wrecking Ball has.
And again, a lot of these, Shax and KSF can get inside that Winston bubble if they want to. They can just push aggressively. Agilities can punish the very large and slower moving body.
And as soon as he jumps, there's no, he can't get away.
I don't think London really have an answer here. I think they're striking someone. See how that EMP's decent though, catches Kareev and Fact Fiction. Just to try to get away. Again, the Winston in trouble. He gets himself that health pack though, and Fury's able to turn his attention elsewhere. With Bidoshin being brought back to life now, well, Fury gets his Mercy back to join him, and London are attempting to capture here. The rest of the Valiant converge.
Yeah, both teams at full strength. It'll be Fury. The solo barrage there. Oh, he actually connects with Custody. He's going to take out Shax as well, so 3K there from Fury is might be able to flip the point here as you got a few more players still straggling on. So you do finally flip it here if you're London. But how do you Gesture has to play this perfectly. I mean, on Winston here in this scenario, Prophet will switch and he'll play Brig. So interesting scenario where you have 3 supports. You're still playing Fury on the Pharah. So that's going to be a kill from Shaxx on the quartermain. So you don't have a res here. Not really close to Valkyrie, but
the Valiant will try and cap us.
Yeah, all I have to do, Valiant, here is just kind of hold ground on the point.
Murdering, oh, he's hacked. Can't go anywhere now. No blinks for you. Roll out there from Fact Fiction.
And the kill that happens here on a Fury, that's actually Kareev, who sleeps him out of the sky. As Fury's trying to put pressure on Kareev in the back. How huge was he with the sleep darts against the Titans? I mean, another one here. Must be nice to have Yorana. You can kind of have her play on an island and don't have to worry about going back and helping support against the Pharah.
Has to be now the primal rage for Gesture. He built it up. Oh, no! One rocket and then another for Quartermain. And Agilities finds 2. Cuts off the Spitfire before they can even begin their sentence. Fury now is going to switch over to the Soldier 76 and try and return to the fight just a little quicker. Gesture has to wait in the wings, wait for his turn because he's down to half health in Primal Rage. Birdering has been taken down. No hack required for that particular kill. And Gesture's seen better days. Overtime now. Pulse Bomb connection. Nice move by Prophet to shield bash forward to catch KSF. But it's going to take a little bit more than that. Fury's forced away. Bionic Field is not enough. And the home team will rack up that first match in this series. Looked a little bit shaky early on, but it was the London Spitfire come round 3 that looked like they didn't know how to deal with the Valiant's composition. Oh, and of course, your face of Overwatch is here in the arena enjoying the games. Hey, Jeff. We'll be back in just a moment with map number 2.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
One more time.
The Vancouver Titans, Stage 1 champions.
The Shock have done it, Stage 2 champions.
Make some noise for the current holders of the California Cup. And you've got to love it when they get the height ratio just right. Fantastic Ash and Bob cosplay. And like you saw, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many headline matches happening at the Kit Kat Rivalry weekend coming up in August. LAValiant.com/tickets, by the way. You have to be there. It will be our final homestand of this season, and it is just chock full of huge matches, man.
Oh, that's going to be a nuts weekend. It'll be kind of like how it is here, except, taking it down. LA Live, man. And you have, some of the crazier weekend matches of that stage, even the whole year, are during that weekend.
Decisive clashes in that environment. Oh man, I got goosebumps already. Next map is going to be Volskaya Industries now, if you just joined us. The LA Valiant managed to squeeze out that first map on Nepal. It went to all 3 rounds, though, and definitely worth a watch if you are the kind that likes to watch lots of DPS, but stick around because there's more to come.
I think if you're a London fan, you kind of worry about how the end of Nepal went. Like, you know, it started off good. Like, when you matched the double sniper, you felt real confident in that. When you saw, like, the solo
Winston
tank,
switch.
like, Winston switch, then kind of like it just really didn't make much sense. And I think if you're in the Valiant comms during that, you can start seeing what they're running. You feel great because that means, you know, what you're doing is clearly working, and then they don't have an answer for it right now. So I think you're going to see them continue.
I wonder how hands-on the coaching is for the Spitfire as well. It's just an interesting question. Are the players, you know, sort of free to make those switches up on the fly? Are they given a very prescribed approach to playing these compositions? I'd love to know.
I find it hard to. I think you kind of have to do it on the fly if you're playing in the game. Like, you can't kind of like come in with these predetermined strategies.
But these comps are kind of new, right? So coming up with that answer, you're going to get a couple misses here and there. Sometimes you say, oh no, that is a disaster for the Spitfire.
It actually couldn't be.
Was that another sleep from Kareem?
Yeah, that was a sleep from Kareem, yeah.
That is so filthy. All right, so what did the Spitfire do now to try and bail this sinking ship out? Well, Birdring able to shield out the pile driver, but still forced back. There's a lot of damage there, and Agilities is sneaky beaky. All right, on the backside.
Their best case is to give up a tick or 2 and then try and come back and fight it. So they do have profit now. You're going to probably give up a second tick here. Yep, there it is. The Valiant accruing the percentage on the point. You may not even get a chance to fight this. They're going to have to run. Oh, they're going to come back and try and fight this.
Very low. I mean, they're going to feed more ultimate percentage now, Matt, than anything else.
And they did no damage.
Difference.
And they did no damage the whole fight.
Oh, look at those numbers!
Everybody was hiding in by the Mega.
I feel like a StarCraft caster screaming, look at the supply. look at the difference here, though. The Valiant almost have 6 ultimates. The Spitfire barely halfway to some of theirs, and you need them big, ground-breaking abilities, especially for a point hold like this. Let's see what the Spitfire can do without them. Gesture, got to get knocked out of the way. Huge EMP, enough to catch Fury as well, who's forced out of the action, and Birdring is sniped out by KSF. The Dragon's trying to follow, but Fury eats it for dinner. Good little negation there from the Diva, but even Fury, even with a nano boost, can't hold up against this. The Valiant are just snowballing out of control on this map. Or hamster balling, really, if you're looking at Fact Fiction's perspective, because he has been in the thick of it. Concussive blast, Agilities hits the air shot. Biting grenade does catch Agilities. He goes low, it'll get healed up eventually, and that second tick is coming now. Quatermain will get there on the Lucio, but for how long? Fury's going to get burned down awfully fast, and there it is. The Lucio steps up and steps down real quick. Oh, man.
Well, that happened. Man, that was lightning quick. As you know, the defense for London on point A really put them behind. Going into point B, they were so behind on ultimates. Bad D from London. We'll see if they can turn around on offense.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
It was not a long first round here for the Los Angeles Valiant attack. It all started with a huge Courage sleep dart onto Prophet, and the rest, well, the Valiant managed to tie it up pretty quickly onto point A and then B with a huge ultimate advantage.
And there's nothing really, I mean, once London, they decide to sit by the Mega Health Pack and all group up and they want to fight it again, and then it just takes so long to actually develop that next fight, and they end up losing that. And because the players on the Valiant are just poking damage into the tanks that are still down by the Mega, they never put down any damage. They never get close to their ultimates. They're just feeding ultimates to the Valiant. Just about as bad as it could go. Is the Valiant, they'll be playing behind the Orisa shield set up on the high ground.
Yes.
Fury with the sneaky teleportation here. So you've got the Winston, the Genji, and the Ana going by.
Now, fun story about this setup, by the way. This is something that we played a couple of games against the devs in the open beta, just for fun and streamed it. They did this to us. They flanked around with a Symmetra on this map. This was the first time we played this map, and we got ruined by the team, the Blizzard devs for Overwatch, because we just didn't know you could do this, and never forgot that. It was me and me and a couple of guys over in Europe.
I think the Valiant had an idea about this though, because I didn't see the player cams, and they were all looking over at Fact Fiction, I think telling him where they were going to move to. Just looking at his screen, it's going to be Prophet though, who takes out agilities. Gesture gets put to sleep here, so you have KSF picking up one, but I think this push has really caught the Valiant off guard.
Really nice, man.
You want to play dive against like the Orisa compositions, especially when they don't have anything to punish you, like let's say like a Junkrat in that type of scenario, set up on the high ground, to really give the dive some trouble. And right there, Bird Ring on the Genji, Prophet on the Sombra.
Just clinical dive composition, man. Something that London Spitfire were lauded for being
what they're good at.
Exceptionally good at. Why not bring it to bear here? The Valiant, well, you better believe they're changing their composition. We don't like getting dives, so they bring the Brigitte in.
Well, you bring in Brig, Rhine, and Zarya, forcing the jump on top of the Rhine. The bubble comes down. You can start pumping out tons of damage on the Winston. Also, you have a good control over both health packs as the Sombra on defense, so.
Which really shuts down enemy flankers, like, well, the Sombra, but also the Genji especially relies on his health packs when he's away from home or his healers. Jax is getting close to an EMP here. That's definitely something that Bird Ring and Gesture would especially hate to get hit by.
I mean, you could ruin a Nano Blade here that London's going to have with a big EMP.
The Spitfire should be expecting the EMP as soon as they can't see Shax, because he's been playing out in the open so far, just charging it up passively. Okay, connection on the Bird Ring and Fury there. Looks like they'll take that.
I like that.
As long as there's no more invested by the Valiant here, I think just the one ultimate is worthwhile. And they're going to make it worth their while, Matt, by pushing and getting extra ultimate charge, by staggering down. And Fidosin looked very sad when KSF was bearing down on him and there was a defense mate who was doing nothing to protect him.
Yeah, Bird Ring gets stunned up by agilities and then uses a dash to try and get out. And then they decide to pop the EMP to get Bird Ring, because now it allows you, like you mentioned, to build up some more ult charge, get closer towards some of those big ultimates. Let's say you get like a Shatter, Rally, you have your own Nano boost now. It also deters him from being able to use that Nano plus the Dragon Blade here. The bad part is you have a lot of good ultimates for London. I mean, all 6 going to be on in just a few seconds.
Nano boost here on the Dragon Blade, the classic. Bird Ring in, he's found Custer already, and agilities won't fare much better. No chance to stun the Genji, and that's 3. Bird Ring would love more, but that pesky Zarya bubble stands in his way. It matters not, though. The London Spitfire now are comfortably set up on the point of getting their capture. It's 2 ticks of permanent progress. And maybe the Valiant can stall out for a short time, but they have definitely been wiped away from this one. Prophet in with the EMP just for good measure. It catches 2 supports, no less. Fact Fiction tries to step forward, but the Primal Rage will send him back to spawn.
Huge Dragon Blade from Bird Ring. Connects with all 3 supports. As soon as you saw Kareev go for the sleep dart and whiffed there, you knew he was going to drop as well.
Panic. It's set in.
The time not as good for London, but still pretty decent. They've made this one a game. We'll see how it plays out after this.
So as you can see, 5 minutes 59 to 4 minutes 34. Not a huge gap, and that does mean that with the speed of these two teams attacking 4As, we might see multiple playback rounds until those time banks finally start to dwindle, unless one team really slows things up. The Valiant here, man, a little bit different composition for them.
Yep, don't want to play the Orisa. They'll play the Winston version of like 3-3, but then you throw the Sombra in the mix. So kind of, I think the real staple of this stage has really just been kind of like 3 supports. As Shax actually has to translocate, he gets hit there by Biotic Grenades. They have an idea where he's playing. From the defensive side, you bring in Winston here instead of Orisa like you had the last time because you're worried about the damage dealers. It looks like London gonna go back. London can play Reinhardt. Yeah, I was just gonna say they can play Reinhardt here.
This is gonna punish.
Yeah.
Shax, though, is able to get that information pretty quickly. And now, again, so Reinhardt generally stronger than Winston in the head-to-head. The team playing the Winston in this setup really needs to use him quite artfully and carefully. Shax is revealed there by a swing of the hammer, I believe. As he tries to pass by the Spitfire. And he'll try and charge up an EMP as quick as he can because he knows his Reinhardt is really going to punish Fact Fiction.
Yeah, they want to control the high ground here, London. That's where you see them moving up. Fact Fiction, as we've seen, in previous minutes before, the Winston has to kind of go up here.
He's going to leave pretty quick.
But then he has to go right back down, right? So you just want to put the pressure. It allows him to build up Primal Rage pretty quick.
Good jump there from Fact Fiction, though. He drops down, waits for it to recharge, gets the high ground again, charged in by Jester. Nice bubble applied by Fury just to make sure that would all be smoothed out. But Fact Fiction managed to get the Primal Rage, which is important, but for the most part, he's been suspended in mid-air. He tries to go for the knockoff on Fury, but in the mess of the fight, Birdering actually goes down first. Fury might want a Graviton Surge here. In fact, Fiction, though, is still causing problems, and he stayed alive. That's what the Valiant needed from him. That Primal Rage was so important. It gave the rest of the Los Angeles Valiant time to work away at the other elements. Fact Fiction having an ice bath. He's exerted himself. Basically run a marathon there, beating his chest and yelling the whole time.
And London uses a nano boost on a Gesture, and he gets Biotic Grenaded. I believe does not get the healing effects of that, potentially slept as well, and he gets taken out. I don't know if they thought that Fact Fiction had the Primal Rage that quick, because they actually do connect with a Sleep Dart on a Fact Fiction when he's not Primal Rage. And Gesture goes to pin him up against the wall. The bubble comes in from KSF, it's good. It's gonna be a long-range grab from Fury as they jump right up onto the high ground, try and follow it up.
KSF trying to plunge in past that shield to get some extra damage to the charge. He's got Fact Fiction also attempting to follow up, but the damaging elements of the Valiant are a little bit staggered. They're offset from one another, so there's enough time for the Spitfire to heal themselves up. That's a nice EMP, though. Jester's going to be caught by that one after, though. The sound barrier comes in. Great timing from Quartermain, and the Spitfire are able to weather most of this damage, even though they didn't have their abilities. Great sound barrier work from Quartermain's Lucio.
And I think that's just something that would have happened over time as we mentioned, Reinhardt compositions against the Winston definitely have the advantage in terms of just sustainability, like especially on the point. Eventually the Winston has to jump, kind of stand tall on the point against the Reinhardt. Reinhardt, just the synergy with the Zarya is so good, especially for Gita as well.
Interesting early Zarya bubble there for Jester. Really seemed to account for too much, so maybe the Spitfire want to wait a little bit. Jester now is hacked, so there's no Zarya bubble for him to cleanse that. The Spitfire have to back up a little bit. And maybe the Valiant knew they could have capitalized there. Look at that.
What a bubble.
You see the chase there. Great work from KSF to get a bubble on Shax, even though he was getting charged deep in enemy territory. That required KSF to play very far forward himself, putting his body on the line for the teammates who love to see it. Fact Fiction play on that right side. That EMP is going to make life very hard, but he gets a nano boost again. The supports and the tanks here from the Valiant. That's all there is, by the way, except for Shax doing a heck of a lot of work. Gesture backing up. This is grab.
It's only another 2-player EMP there from Prophet as the grab comes down from Fury. Use the sound barrier, as you know they do not have the EMP here for Custis, so the Valiant holding on.
This is excellent from the Los Angeles Valiant now, knowing that they're kind of struggling in a head-to-head fight with these main tanks. They're playing around the Spitfire now. They're going to get in that grab. Prophet clinging on the line. Not going to last much longer now. Jester tries to go for the Earth Shatter. He gets it, but he's hacked straight away. Birdering sleeping it off in the background. Los Angeles, a masterclass right now on playing around a Reinhardt in a 3-3. The Sombra use has been great. So many fantastic individual contributions in that last fight.
You know, it really didn't start out good for them. As Shax gets put to sleep, KSF with a sick
He
bubble.
has to run headlong into the Spitfire to get the bubble on him.
Fact Fiction has to use Primal Rage just to kind of scare London into a scenario where So they can't really kind of focus anybody down.
This is your 0-7 stage 1 team. Not trying to rub it in, of course, because they're much better right now, but...
And the Outlaws turned it around too, right?
The league is getting more and more interesting.
All right, this one has to be good.
This goes over the top, I suppose, and Prophet try and get the job done there. He's going to make sure he doesn't get slept by Kareem, so make sure he can see Kareem at all times. Here it comes, though. The EMP, he lands that one onto 4 players. But back fixing got the primal rage, and Kareem was there anyway. He didn't get to sleep, but he got the finish with the bionic grenade. But Ocean desperately just trying to pound those healing darts into his teammates, but Fury has to turn his back as Fact Fiction is angry. And Fury has no personal bubbles left into overtime. The Valiant is just a little tweak. Change back to that 3-3 composition, and look at this.
Played really good around the Winston on defense. Shaq's coming up with some big EMPs. That time the EMP from Prophet's good. It does not connect with Kareev though. Kareev hits him with a biotic grenade. They end up turning the fight.
For the Los Angeles Valiant, the time is now. This team has really turned a corner in an incredible way and at the perfect time in this season. Good mix of young blood and veteran heads on this roster. And they just look very intuitive, Matt. You know, a lot of these little abilities, which you can't wait to be told by a shot caller to use them, look really in sync, really smooth. And the Spitfire there, I mean, what do they do now? They say, well, I mean, we don't really like playing the 3-3 as much anyway, but we're going to try it. What is it? Back to DPS now.
Yeah, looks like they're going to come out here with a Winston-based composition on defense, Bird Ring on Widowmaker. So Gesture is going to play the Orisa. So you can play the Orisa as the solo tank against, let's say, you know, some damage dealers in the situation because you're playing the double sniper. Hanzo, Hanzo does act like a medium to like long range sniper, but you know, the Storm Arrow is up close. You can fire so many. He busts down the tanks pretty quick, especially like the dive.
A lot of burst damage, yeah.
See if the Valiant decide to stay on this. It's a lot of sightlines for Widowmaker here against Pharah. Like if Pharah has to come through this initial choke and it makes it, there's not a lot of places to hide or cover to kind of fly behind.
You have to play from the left side essentially here, I'd say. And if Agilities can get a nice, excuse me, a nice flank behind that bubble, could do some work.
Try and knock them down. Trying to take an angle.
Yeah, he
here.
thought about it. I think we will see.
I think they're talking about a switch, yeah.
Huh. What provokes the Spitfire to change their position here? What did they see that makes them want to move now to the right side?
I think they were...
Okay. That is so hard to hit from that range. Ana's hitbox is tiny.
Yeah.
Her headshot hitbox is even smaller.
He just makes look so casual. So, I think what London probably saw was the Pharah coming over the top. They have to respect the fact that they could get booped off of this high ground, so they rotate all the way around. You see they come right back and take this as soon as they can, you know, hit tab or look at the scoreboard and see that they're not playing the Pharah anymore.
Both teams of Sonic arrowed each other, so both have an approximate idea of where one another is set up. I mean, these bubbles could be around for a while. Here's the Hulk. It's on their side of the bubble, so unless it's over the top of that Orisa shield, it's not going to yank anyone up. But the Spitfire have got to do something now. They have to challenge. Look at this move up onto the point now. KSF knows where this Hanzo was going to be. He knows where Fury's going to come from. Bigdoshin has to drop down now. It's not safe on the point at all. Look, Kareem takes him out.
And the members that are caught on the other side of the high ground for the London Spitfire know they can't drop because KSF's on the other side.
What can Birdwing do? There's an Orisa on the point. What can Fury even do now except try and stay hit him? But that's not going to happen because Quartermain is damage boosting and healing him, so it gives his position away. Still, he comes forward to challenge though.
They can turn it. I mean, they think they can turn it as Gesture comes back
they
here
have to.
on Wrecking Ball, and they may be able to stabilize here. So they make some changes. They come right on back in. They know that they have to get a good hold here on point A.
Nice backstep by Fury avoiding the Hulk because that would have been the end of him. But Prophet is down now and Fury is eating a lot of bullets. Again, he gets rid of that shield. A shot on the Shacks, just one would be enough. Caught on the hold now. Fury just trying to find the shot. God, it looks confusing. Must be even worse for the man trying to play the hero. Jester now, bionic grenaded. A little bit of shield from that adaptive barrier, but it's not going to cut the mustard. 4 minutes and 14 seconds on the clock. The Valiant, all they have to do is get one tick on this next point, and they are starting to roll. They are snowballing, and look at them. Beeline for the point.
Fury's going to use his Dragon. He probably would have used it in the previous fight because he's trying to get res by Quartermain, but Quartermain actually gets slept by
Here we
Kareem.
go! Dragon Strike coming through. Agility's forcing everybody in the Spitfire away, and Shax is just cleaning up the rest. Fancy footwork there from Twinkle Toes Quartermain, but it's not going to get him out of dodge, and Agility gets the point blank. The Los Angeles Valiant go up 2-0 into the half. A team transformed, and now they take flight. And Spitfire just can't maintain altitude.
I think a lot of people, a lot of Valiant fans, and I think a lot of us as well, were interested to see how they would bounce back today after the loss to the Spark yesterday. As I think the Valiant definitely want to make the stage playoffs. They're looking to really take it to London up 2-0.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
I am unstoppable. You're powered up. Get in there. Well, leave with it.
The LA Valiant are keeping the hometown fans happy. It's all the Valiant so far in this one. They're currently up 2-0 over the Spitfire coming into the half. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Chris Puckett, but more importantly, I have a very excited Joshua Wilkinson. Josh, you are on the Valiant train. You had faith today, and so far you're looking pretty smart.
Yeah, they're doing very well. I think it all came down to DPS matchups, as we've seen on the last two maps, and it's been nuts. It's been so entertaining to watch.
Now, Zoe, something we were talking about in the basement is for London. Is Fury the best DPS player you have? I mean, the man was running Pharah a little bit later. I've enjoyed this so far.
I don't want to go that far to actually say that, but let's be real here. He actually stepped it up big times, and I love to see that Pharah backing he had. I actually do think that he kind of got the better end of agilities on a majority of this map. Shax popped off like no other. His Widowmaker was absolutely nuts. And going up against big names such as Birdring, it's quite a feat considering this is his, what, fourth game in this league? Like, this is insane.
Absolutely incredible performance from Shax, especially when he switched over to the Sombra as well. So many key hacks that set up picks onto Birdring, Gesture, Prophet. He was phenomenal on it. I think the LA Valiant were on the cusp, really, of taking this 2-0. And so the fact that they had to take it 2-1 is just credit to London for making it close more than anything.
He's only been in the league for one stage. But is Shax the greatest mid-season pickup we have seen in Overwatch history? Is it too soon to say?
I think that is too soon to say, especially when you had guys like Space on the previous LA Valiant team, where they were going from a mid-table team up to second in the regular season. Well, I think you have to hold your horses a bit on that one, Puck.
I said it here first. I asked it, no question, but I said it here first. All right, let's jump in to map number 2 because Volskaya, again, we see the DPS like crazy. Both teams very successful on their attacks.
And Spark
Absolutely.
proved that they, Valiant proved against Spark that they are phenomenal on this map, especially with the double sniper composition. So London Spitfire came in prepared, and they did very well at being able to push their own offenses really far.
But during the London Spitfire offense, we did see them play to their strength. It was a blast once again to actually see Birdring popping off on that Genji. He got a beautiful 3K actually sealing the deal on point B for them. There it is. There it is.
This is my favorite.
The Nano Blade.
Oh, where you going, Agilities?
London Spitfire would be so dangerous if it turned into a Sombra Genji meta like this as well. There's a bunch of different teams in the league that would benefit, but it would be great to see Birdring back.
Overall, on this map though, London Spitfire's tank line had the worst time ever. Gesture has been picked off time and time again. I think he died pretty much the most out of his entire team, except from Bidosian. It was like one actual death behind him. Overall, those two had a really, really rough time.
On the other side, Fact Fiction, fantastic game too. But Josh, there was one player that was outshining everybody. Tell us who it is in our Insights powered by Intel.
Well, it's always been Kariv over like the last 4 matches. So let's take a look at this insane play that started out Volskaya. And this is what happened. I'm just going to run it through for you. Kariv opens up, first play of the game. He gets a sleep on Prophet, and they're able to take down the Sombra. So when I was looking at this play, I was thinking, is this dumb luck or was this calculated? Because let's take a look at Prophet. What is Prophet aiming to do? He's going to loop around and try and harass these guys as they're coming through the choke point. And everybody knows that that is the plan of the Sombras. And we're starting to see teams adapt to it more as well. So to watch Kariv, he kind of baits with agilities as if he's going to push through that door. And instead, take a look at this. He kind of fakes going out the door and pushes back into this corner where he can't be seen whatsoever. Prophet comes around the back, so he does a little double round. Prophet comes around the back and he lands a sleep dart on him, which is nuts if it's a pre-planned play from Kariv, which I think it is, because look, he comes out and then he just wedges himself in a corner. Why would you possibly do that unless you're trying to bait Prophet into going for the hacks or going for the damage and then sleeping him? I mean, that is just 9 billion IQ. If that was some kind of planned stuff from Valiant, that's like on another dimension.
Get into the 2018 MVP champion's head. Prophet, that's not the way he wanted to start that game. But Josh, we wanted to ask everybody at home, let us know, dumb luck or brilliant Kariv play? Use the hashtag OWL2019 and you can be featured in our post show a little bit later on. 2 games in the books. Is it all Valiant in the second half, guys?
What do you think? You already know where I'm going.
I'm the angel of death for either of those teams. Let's be real here. Every single time I pick the Valiant to win, they're actually not going to win. And the same for London. So whatever I say, the opposite is going to happen.
Well, keep going for London then. I'm happy with
well,
that.
I guess it's the first pick counts. I'm now going for Valiant, just so they lose.
The home crowd is so disappointed that
Yesterday
Sorry,
we
guys.
had 14 maps. Today, I want to see at least 5 in this first one. It's all London in the second half. We're going the distance, baby. We'll find out. Is that true? After this.
I started watching some streams of the pros, and the pros were amazing. And one of the biggest guys I saw was awesome was Hydration. He was part of the Gladiators.
Suddenly I'm at every game, and
the beautiful LEDs, the cheers of the crowd.
it shields up. It's thunderous applause. It's roaring in the arena. It's a lot of clap, clap, stomp, stomp. You just kind of get sucked into it.
And I've been hooked ever since.
The Los Angeles Valiant making a pretty quick affair so far of this series. Volskaya wasn't the fastest map, but when the Valiant on their second defense turned around, they switched their composition to a 3-3 map, like more of a, well, it was Sombra inside that 3-3 setup, and they actually ended up just completely holding on point B.
And I'm really interested to see what London talked about during the half, if they've kind of come up with some... I know I joked a little bit about it during before the game even began, and I'm like, you can kind of tell where these London games go as soon as they begin. Like in the first map, like,
you feel like you can just like get the temperature.
You can kind of gauge where they're at on the day, like whether they're like making the right calls and the right reads and the switches. And so far, it's not worked out for the London Spitfire. Hollywood, Gibraltar, 2 maps. Potentially could see a game.
They are 2 maps.
Could bounce back. Potentially the final 2 maps in the series.
Do you think we just go back to seeing a little bit more of the tank and support heavy play on a map like Hollywood, Matt? Or
I think going back and seeing tank and support play, I think you'll see that on just about every map. It's whether you want to see the Sombra in play or not. And I think both of these teams, I think more Valiant than London, have shown that they want to run Sombra.
Do London really have it like with, because we talked about having guard, Matt. They brought guard in and they got him playing a bunch of rig and stuff like that. Maybe
but I think it's different here though, because you just don't feel guard coming in and having to play, let's say, multiple damage dealers, and let's say you want them on rig. Like
I'd be shocked if the London play it now, because if they want Sombra, they have to go without the Zaya, probably, and that creates a comp that I just don't think is very good. I mean, it has I guess the Diva Winston is still there. Anyway, a lot of theory crafting right now. They're not going through it. The Valiant, though, on the attack, firstly getting hit by a biting grenade. They are going to go with this, this Hanzo Farah, which is just, it just makes me so happy.
And they'll go solo tank Winston, which we mentioned the Winston versus the Wrecking Ball in terms of solo tank. Like, Winston has not as much sustain as the Wrecking Ball.
So why use the hero of the Wrecking Ball?
You know, just with the map, like the way the map's designed, there aren't really got a lot of good spots for the Wrecking Ball to get like a ton of value.
There's no canopy over the point A for grappling.
Like, where is he grappling to? Like, you're grappling in open space. So you like the Winston jump pack and the bubble to control different types of high grounds, whether it's right on top of the platform
in front
of
one?
KSF, or you can get it over in the cafe. So now they're going to play the Orisa, which you play the Orisa because now you see that they're playing all these tanks, right? You just want to get on the point, shield, fortify, allow your damage dealers to poke and poke and poke.
Agility's nice setup on that one. Shax was pushed so far forward, and Kareev, though, did that all up his own back, at least as far as the kill feed's concerned. Fury desuited there, and that mini Diva is not going to do too much here. Jester will try and use his bubble for as long as he can, but eventually he will have to face the music himself. Agilities propels him in that direction with a concussive blast and gets the finish. Prophet is charged up, relatively speaking, and in the backline of the Valiant, they need to respect the Zaya's presence, but Agilities is still untethered, free to go and hunt down the brick.
Prophet trying to make his way around towards the point, not able to do so. You get Fury back in play as Prophet's entire time there was spent trying to hunt down Kareev. Use a nano boost on a Gesture, try and keep him up. That'll be the EMP from Shax.
Big connection. Quartermain also hit by that one. Gesture nano boosted, but Ocean wasn't able to keep him alive. He was sleeping again, Kareev. An important sleep dart there to neutralize that enemy main tank, and now Agilities can just work around this fight. He hasn't even had to use a barrage. We'll be taking that into the next part of the map, and that is point A captured.
What do you do if you're the London Spitfire? Do you stay on this composition? Do you switch? You're closing in on some big ultimates. So you have Rally, you're gonna have Primal Rage. You may want to like force one more fight, force it early. Try and get like Nano and Barrage out, kind of reset it across the board, so to speak, and then come back with some compositional changes. But what do you even play into it? You can play Widowmaker for London because you control the high ground, so you're not as worried just as much about shooting behind the shield. Like the snipers for the Valiant are not going to play on the ground, just the KSF playing the Hanzo. But the Supercharger used here is Gesture pops Primal.
Yeah, Gesture goes straight for the Supercharger though. Wastes no time in getting that off the map. Agilities would have loved that extra bit of damage boost, but he's going to get it from Custer anyway, if he should choose to go for a barrage. There is no Sombra, there is no Zaya available for them though, so it's going to be risky now. No bubbles to be given out to the Valiant. Quartermain and Fury descend.
Agilities tries to get off a barrage while trapped inside that Graviton Surge. So
switch then?
Yeah, changes coming in here.
It's almost like if you see a crazy decision made by a player, more often than not,
especially with their ultimate.
Yeah, it's just before they switch off that hero anyway to try and get it over with. A tactical reset, as we call it.
Yeah, but here, I mean, you can nano fact fiction, you can EMP, he can build up towards the shatter, and then you try and force them to switch as well.
Good EMP connection, but Quartermain wasn't affected by it whatsoever. Fact Fiction getting rid of Profit though. Widoshin in such a safe spot. Gesture, the tip of the spear with the nano boost there, was more than happy to push up. Even now, he's going to do that. He's got plenty of healing available, and Agility's Fact Fiction coming out of this much worse than where. Great boot forward by Quartermain. Now there's no escape for the Valiant. They are in trouble.
And London able to get their sound barrier off during that fight. Agility's still roaming around here on Brigitte. He was able to take out Gesture. He's going to get Widoshin as well.
Great chase.
You have Agility chasing down 2 players on the Brigitte, which is going to allow the Valiant to continue to move the card.
That biotic grenade from Kariv initially, I think, was what really helped there. Switch over now towards the Zenyatta. That's the Transcendence.
But that is a 1 fight from London.
Yeah. The spawn advantage, though, I think they forgot about it or underestimated it.
And its Agility is just picking up 2 huge kills, moving the card forward.
Gesture knocked off the high ground. That's rude. That whip shot prevented him from hanging around up there, which means that now he can't jump straight back up. He needs to wait for the cooldown. But Kariv on the Zen, that extra damage is enough to claim Birdring with a headshot. And Gesture will just try and sow some discord here, but he's got the orb on him. It'll be tough for him to get much done. He gets a bionic, well, he gets a nano boost now inside Primal Rage, and the Earth Shatter is good. 3 players hit by Widoshin's biotic grenade, but the Los Angeles Valiant are able to come forward in numbers, and they have that Reinhardt shield to protect them for any subsequent damage. Graviton Surge, follow up. It's there! It is there! Fury went 4.
Remember when he said they had the shield to block the damage?
Not that kind of damage, my dude.
Prophet lays down a grab. You're really, you're looking at how the fight's going and you're questioning it. Fury there drops the self-destruct right in the middle of it, and they were able to pick up the kills needed.
Yeah, it's like, how do you turn your shield in such a way to protect?
It's a huge play from London. They get the hold, but they had to use everything to do it. You have Sound Barrier, you have EMP, Transcendence grab coming back here for the LA Valiant. You lose Custa on the way in, but you get the pick off on the Widoshin, so you may try and fight this.
Custa gets back pretty quickly. The Spitfire to spawn advantage. Look at that crazy charge through. EMP though, big connection. 4 players hit by that one. KSF's able to find Gesture. And now there's more to be cleaned up here. Quartermain over the top and won't get away. KSF locked onto him there. Laser precision. Prophet also going down. And Matt, you called it and you heralded it. London used everything in that previous fight and had nothing when it really counted. The Valiant, though, still have they need to work with.
And the Valiant had to know they had nothing to do work with because they never felt threatened to pop anything else besides the EMP. As the Valiant push forward, you get a few more stagger kills here. Is I believe Fact Fiction the one on the card, but that play is set up. You mentioned it. It's like a wild charge that comes in on the way in. But if you've played Overwatch at home and you watched on the Overwatch League, a Reinhardt goes to pin your Reinhardt, and you're a Zarya or a Diva, just the natural instinct is to go help that player. So you draw them down.
If you're a good person.
Yeah, if you're a good person. You get drawn down into the EMP because they just use a bubble on a Fact Fiction and he charges on in, then they EMP right after.
They use your chivalry against you. Biotic grenade there onto the Spitfire. The Valiant come forward. The Transcendence biotic grenade had expired by that point, so Kariv was confident his team would get the healing that they needed. Prophet, Graviton Surge attempt here. Sound Barrier coming out, an EMP though, catching on to 4 players in the London Spitfire. Now we're going to get run over. Fury gets desuited, taken down. The Valiant, though, again, had to use a heck of a lot there. They need to be wary of the Earth Shatter. That's about it, though. Fury can try something cute with a self-destruct, but the switch from Prophet seems reasonable. Gesture's discorded, by the way, and guess what? There's no Zarya to cleanse that off him. If the Reinhardt gets hit with the orb, it's going to stay there. Fact Fiction gets shattered. There it is. The combo comes out from Fury to get agilities. But Ocean knows been traded out. Kariv is missing. And KSF is trying to push up on the payload. He's the tankiest player currently left, and the Valiant realize they need their main tank.
I think they missed a window of opportunity where they had Gesture discorded coming out of the spawn door on the left-hand side. They had him pretty low, and they just kind of let him put the shield up and walk down the stairs.
And let that Discord orb expire.
And live for long enough to be able to land the shatter. Self-destruct comes down. One more fight here for the Valiant.
Another Discord for Jess, but the Zarya is back now. Prophet cleanses it off immediately. Graviton Surge from KSF, though. That one does not miss. It's a good connection, but a defensive biotic grenade comes out from Widoshin. Nano boost also used on the Birdring. Yeah, Custer's gone down early in the fight. Here's the Transcendence, though, coming forward. It's Kariv. Gesture caught. EMP again. from Shax. This time it's Birdering, Prophet and Fury all caught. They can't do a darn thing about it. Fury desuited, forced to stand around on the payload. Birdering steps up, a brief shield from him, but it's not enough, nor is it for Prophet. The Valiant get over the line. Took all of their time back, but they'll be happy to finish off the map based on how rough it was in that second stage.
I mean, London's defense was actually pretty good considering they let Shax do whatever he wanted on the Sombra. 34 enemies hacked in the first half, 21 enemies EMP, getting him EMP every minute.
Back with our next half in just a moment.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
You may remember how we mentioned the importance of this game for both of these teams. Well, here are the stakes now. If Los Angeles Valiant win this map, they will clinch their spot in the Stage 3 playoffs. They need to win this series by 2 or more maps, or yeah, 2 or more maps, yep. So 4-0 or 3-1, and they'll be in the Stage 3 playoffs after a very rough first half of the season. That is a lot to contemplate, but for the Valiant, they have to put it aside and focus on winning the video game.
And I'm sure the Valiant, the players, they know what's on the line coming into this matchup. And I think for them, it'd be huge to make the playoffs in this stage, especially how the season has gone so far. It's been quite rough. Still 7-13. You kind of look, you can get back to 8-13 overall. You win this series, right? You come back in stage 4. Like, you have a real shot of even sneaking in the play-ins. And if you're playing that hot, I mean, nobody's going to.
Over half of their wins this year have come from this stage.
Yeah.
Put it in perspective for you.
But Ocean on the Hogs, so you're going to play a triple tank, 2 snipers. For the London Spitfire.
Does this make any sense against what the Valiant are playing?
This is going to be tough because the actual sightlines for agilities, and it's a little bit safer for him to play the far on D than it is on offense. Just being able to hover over the building.
Used to be a staple on Eichenwald defense.
It's really a composition for the London Spitfire built around getting a pick, whether it's like a halt hook combination, the sniper play. It's just the Valiant. There's so many areas to hide in this scenario. So now you have on the point here for London, but look how much poke damage is there just taken from every
This was
angle.
the London Spitfire Season 1 winning composition, by the way. This is what they played.
How they won it.
Big body grenade though, but Ocean sad about that one. Forced back away. Oh, Julius! Oh, he can't get away. He actually fires off a rocket when he's at point blank and ends up topping himself. Kareem, big sleep though on a Prophet. Okay, maybe a chance for the Valiant here just to group up, but Custer yanked out of formation. Thrown up on the Butcher's Hook. KSF trades out with Prophet now. That Dragon Strike most likely just to open up some space, but Jester was able to find Shax. Now Fact Fiction and Kareem have to play together. This needs to be a big barrage for Geordies. He's got Quartermain.
That's the only support.
It'll have to be enough. Fury's not going to get any healing. Supercharging here for Fact Fiction. Looks like it's up to him and Kareem back to back to get the job done.
Dude, Kareem sleeps Fedosian inside the cafe, immediately nano boosts Fact Fiction over by the point. Knows he can put all those healing resources into him at that moment in time.
This is sick. The Valiant are cracked, man.
A sleep dart from Kareev to set things up originally. I believe it's on the Prophet up on the high ground, where KSF picks up an elimination off of that. And then it still doesn't look good for the Valiant. I think another big play is Agility's coming back from the spawn, and he's able to pick up Quartermain with the Rocket Barrage. As the Mercy in that scenario was the only healer you had. Is some big plays from the Valiant. And London doesn't even get a tip.
What do you do about a CMT?
Nothing. I mean, you have to.
Ooh.
Well, now you can see it, but you're
London
still.
have to go now. They have to go.
But what do? I mean, you can't exactly go now because you know the translocator just comes over the wall and it's not even really in your line of sight. So you have to wait it out.
Agility's nano boosted. Didn't have a barrage. EMP connects though. Only onto Gesture though. The Valiant may be getting ahead of themselves. It could have been that forced translocate out by Shax that put them under pressure, but the Spitfire just disengaged and the Valiant used 2 ultimates to get nothing for him.
You have a pick from Kareev on a Pedoshin.
Cast it down though.
May be able to get rezzed up though, as Quartermain's looking for it.
Birdring, very flicky as he adjusts. He's looking for that enemy Farah. Agilities cannot get healed by his Mercy until Custer returns, and it could be some time before that happens. And there it is. Birdring was looking for him. He found his prey. Fury goes down there, but KSF get 3! Oh, what? Quartermain being the second kill there, and he gets Prophet. He can now hold from
Kareev
this
is
small.
gonna get
What?
Gesture. Oh. Kareev gets Gesture, then sleeps Pedoshin on the point.
No way. No way, dude. Oh, my word. He holds on. He looks at the ground. It makes it harder to hit his headshot hitbox.
London looks crushed. Just the players on the stage. Like
Prophet just had done to him what he did to Philly in that final, though. That triple on Hanzo on Volskaya Industries now. It all coming back. And I tell you what, history's been good to the Spitfire, but the present not great at all. The Los Angeles Valiant secure their spot in the Stage 3 playoffs with a 3-0 in this series, and you better believe they're pleased. So was most of this arena, and you know what? So am I.
As KSF and Kareev time and time again with the clutches there on defense, they get a full hold after completing the map. And now it's just a matter of if they can get the 4-0. The 4-0 helps them in the map count for the overall season.
Better seeding in the stage playoffs too.
Yeah, as they can still make a push for the overall play-ins. We'll see if they can get the 4-0 after this.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Last year we captured history, of course, in New York. It was a London Spitfire. To take away our first season of the Overwatch League, this time it's going to be in Philadelphia. Check that one out, overwatchleague.com. Tickets are on sale already, and either of these teams, or both, could be there.
It's London, I mean, they didn't really make their push until late last year. You have both London and Philadelphia, both like still lingering around. Like, you know, neither team has really had a bad season, so to speak. When you take a look at the standings, this is obviously not updated with the results of this match right now. So the Valiant going to move up to 5-2. The map differential, yeah, gonna get better. London obviously moves down to 3-3.
Getting a plus 40 map, look, that would top the league, map differential speaking anyway.
That's just wild. I mean, yeah, they have been on a tear. And that is with a series against the Vancouver Titans, which, you know, they win, but we've known what they've done to a lot of other teams. Map differentials and records in the previous stages, which has been the difference between some teams making it or not.
Feels like Michael Bay is the one writing the scripts for this league.
Gibraltar be the final map in the series. We'll see if London stays on this composition with the Torb in play. So you most likely will not see that happen, as Torb not great to combo in a 2 DPS setup with a Torb Sombra. I know some people at home probably think that's fantastic, but it's not. You get the Lucio Brig in play, not ideal.
Talk to him,
enough healing.
Talk to him.
I'm just trying to make my gameplay experience better when I go home after this. Looks like the Valiant on offense. You're probably gonna have just like a hook come out here, and then you just
okay.
Interesting.
Back to Lumbridge with you, Shax.
Don't see that often. It's Shax won't switch off. So KSF will play Zarya, so they're gonna play the mirror matchup for both teams. This is like one of the first times in this whole series we've seen a mirror matchup.
KSF fancies trying to tickle Jester's shield a little bit on that high ground. That's pretty aggressive from Kareev in all fairness, but if he gets a sleep dart there, then things start happening very quickly.
Gesture with some big fire strikes, so 41% towards Shatter. Attack Fiction only at 20%, doubling them up right now, but they're gonna get aggressive down the court. Oh, and it's Kareev hits a sleep on a Prophet up on the high ground as London drops down to engage on the LA Valiant.
This is dangerous now, Jester! Ooh, Gusta catches him there, Kareev! We saw him playing aggressively just 10 seconds ago, trying to find some pick like that. He gets what he wanted, and not only is Prophet able to be in the fight, he's not able to accrue ultimate percentage because, he ain't shooting his gun. It ain't happening. He's sleeping.
And he never actually, I believe he made it from the high ground down.
It is a long time. What, 6 seconds you just chilling for? Feels like an eternity. Especially when your opponents, walk up to you and crouch 10 times. Anyway, he's a nano boost. Fact Fiction, he'd be a very happy man right now. And there it is, the first checkpoint seeded with very minimal resistance. And the Spitfire looked rattled after that first fight. It was so good for them. And then, in a blink of an eye, it was over.
London had the right idea. They got to the corner, they jumped down, they wanted to fight, they had an advantage in terms of shatter percentage. It's just that sleep on a Prophet. When you're playing into another team in a mirror and you do not have the Sombra. Sombra, I think right now, you watch Overwatch League, we can all agree, probably the most single impactful hero there is. You don't have yours in the fight. Just remove an ability, remove a shield,
hack
remove
anyone.
Zarya,
You're on the high
anyone.
ground already,
Anyone. Yeah, he would have been able.
Free hack.
He didn't even have to jump down. I mean, he could have just looked down and started the hack.
Valiant a little bit split right now, so the EMP only connects on the 4. That's enough, though. Backed up with the Earth Shatter from Gesture. There won't be much more to say about that fight. The Spitfire do, in all fairness, spend 3 ultimates to achieve said result, when maybe an EMP on its own would have been enough. But let's just say they're making sure they get the job done.
Yeah, but that may have been set up here by the LA Valiant. Take a look at Gesture's POV. The EMP comes down. Easy there. I mean, you just nail that shatter as soon as the EMP goes off. But probably that was actually orchestrated from the Valiant. You use Rally. You're already setting a very good time on the clock. They're going to be forced to set up a play. Now you can use the sound barrier whenever. You can sound barrier this Graviton Surge.
Here's the follow-up though, EMP. So now who's worse off? Those in the grab or those without their abilities? I'll tell you what, it's the latter. The Valiant bait the Spitfire in yet again. This time though, they were ready to bite back. Great EMP use from Shax. All he had to do was walk up. The Spitfire converged for him.
And then now how horrible does it feel if you're London, where you're going to have to potentially burn a sound barrier?
There's no contest.
They may not even come back and contest, but even in the next fight, you may have to come back and burn a sound barrier for like a Nano Reinhardt who's just going to be swinging into yours. Or potentially like a Shatter, right? Where
Oh, the sleep on a Prophet in midair. The Valiant thinking about it. Nah, they're not going to go for it. The London Spitfire would have been ready to receive. Although sometimes everyone needs a little bit of Leroy Jenkins in their lives. EMP over the top catches 4. KSF especially hit hard by that. But this time the Spitfire again, they combine EMP and Earth Shatter once more.
I do feel like though, I mean, those are the only fights that we've seen London win this map. Is when they combo EMP Shatter. So let's see if they can manufacture a fight win without those
Let's see
two
if they
big
can win
ultimates.
with Grav. That would be pretty helpful.
Yeah, well, I mean, Custa pretty far away from sound barriers, so you think the grab here will be a little bit more effective?
Even if EMP comes out midway through.
And look, you can control high ground here if you're London on this left-hand side where you see they're playing right now. And Bidoshin can just land down one of these big biotic grenades. They come in, there's no Diva to eat it up, try and block it.
Don't you dare sleep him, Kareem. Don't you dare sleep him! Gesture hacks, getting up there.
I mean, what do you mean?
I mean, he's given a nano boost here, but what does he do with it? Oh, Mag Fiction damaging from the top. He's kept alive. Custer not so lucky, though. That grab looks god-awful.
Look at the cart. Like, they now, what is this positioning from London? They're going to have to walk right in.
Oh, my gosh. And they do. They walk straight into an EMP. The sound barrier, in all fairness, did come out.
That grab may keep them off of the cart.
They can't touch. Berry has the charge down there. And it's like the boy in the ice cream truck just keeps going, reaching out for his sweet treat, doesn't get it. The London Spitfire there. Oh, they've got to be very upset. The Los Angeles Valiant played them like a fiddle on that attacking side. Baited some engagements, put London in some positions, Matt, where the Valiant were ready for them to use some of these ultimates.
And I mentioned it. Let's see if they can win a fight without EMP Shatter. That last fight, they did not have either of those ultimates. They do not come close to winning the fight. But first, they allow the cart, like Shax is moving the payload like around the corner. And then I think London realizes like they can't rotate back out fast enough that they have to go right at them. They walk into an EMP, then a grab, and the cart is continuing to move backwards.
So that play, that last fight on a gesture set up by Kareem. The first fight with the sleep dart connection, also set up by Kareem.
And I think to look at it and be like, okay, like Gesture's out there playing on the island. This is not a, I think the main tank position right now in the Overwatch League is by far the toughest. Like there's a lot of things that you could play perfectly, like shield management, like play certain corners. Like, I mean, right there, he gets slept from an off angle, then he gets woken up, biotic grenaded, then hacked. There's nothing he can really.
He's given a nano boost, but all he does is stand there like a Christmas tree.
But he can be
He's
the
about
best.
as effective.
Yeah, I mean, he has to run back towards his team even with the nano boost because he doesn't get the healing effect because he's hit with the biotic grenade. It's like, what do you want Gesture to do in that type of position? It's tough.
Stone cold, nothing. All right, so the Valiant will set up here with a pretty standard defense setup, and this Ana is just making a lot of fans happy for the Valiant right now. Donk.
Like, I know they mentioned at halftime. It's like, well, Shaq's like the.
Oh, he's hacked. Yeah, nicely done. That's like, really nice from London.
Shaq's the best mid-season pickup for the Valiant. It's like, well, maybe it wasn't the person they picked up. Maybe it was the person they just decided to put in. So I know Kareev has been huge for the Valiant on this win streak.
Quartermain just gets inextricably somewhat getting picked off here. Now, this is a bit dangerous for the Spitfire now. The Valiant can sort of play from a distance and pressure them out. They don't have the ability to engage or disengage, so they'll try and back away. I mean, pretty generous of the Valiant. Yeah, they won't let him get away. I was going to say, they'll get some extra damage. They break Jester's shield. He's out of action for a little while. The Spitfire is speeding back in. They're chasing this right now.
They wanna try and follow this and wrap all the way around.
Use the element of surprise as Quartermain returns. Give the speed boost. Well, they have high ground, but they have to touch the payload to move it across the map. Oh,
Fury
no,
just drops
please.
down. I mean, he does not care about that high ground. You have 3 players get hit with the biotic grenade. Now Bidoshin gonna have nano. Do nano gesture and just trying to.
And I hope he doesn't get
here.
32 forms of crowd control leveled at him in 1 second. I think you hope that.
Looks like London's backing out here. As London wants to build up towards this EMP. Prophet getting close to it.
This is too slow. Fury backing up a little bit. Back is a bit damaged.
It's slow, but I also think there's not like enough disruption going on from the Sombra. Like Prophet's getting the EMP, but you don't see like players getting hacked and players having to move around and try and like cover for another player. That'll be Shax connecting with 2.
That is, it's astonishing that he actually is able to do this, Matt. This is ridiculous. Nano boost on the... on the side of the Valiant here, getting so much work done. Remember, they have an Ana and a Brigitte. They don't have a lot of powerful AoE defensive ultimates. So when Gravitons, Earth Shatters, EMPs come in, the Valiant don't actually have a lot of good answers in the support slot. See how this goes down, by the way. This is...
Kareem's POV.
Good night.
Sleep
Oh, he was going
during
for the
Shatter. They use Nano, Shatter, EMP during that fight, and they do not win. And all you had used for the Valiant was a Nano boost there. I mean,
I don't think I've seen anyone get so wrecked by an
well,
armor in a long
and
time.
if you're Fury, what do? You use this Graviton Surge. Like, they're going to EMP the follow-up. You're not going to get anything.
Nothing's going right. I mean, he's grabbed Fury, by the way. Hold this for me! This and this L. That's what the Valiant are trying to do anyway. Fury's down. And Gesture won't be far behind. He's got nowhere to go. He's kind of caught in the corner. That shield's about to pop so easily. Oh, that sleep dart.
You get another, I mean, you get another relatively cheap fight win in terms of ultimate spent there for the LA Valiant. You get the solo grab on the Fury, you take him out. Fury ends up using his grab. Now you can hold on. I mean, you weren't at Sound Barrier at that moment in time. You've built up Sound Barrier now. So
now the Valiant are very safe against these.
Yeah, it's just for the Valiant, it's just, do you think Prophet has EMP? Like, what's your scenario here? Is you're not going to see the EMP used from Shaxx at this moment in time. There'll be no follow-up. They're going to wait until they wrap around. Kareem's still behind. Could try and land like a sneaky sleep dart from the opposite side.
Keep your eye on the top of the screen. If you spot the Z's, you know what's happened. Custer needs to get given a bubble there. So maybe the Valiant wait a little bit before, yeah, in fact, Fixion's going to need a bubble too. Here's an EMP. Birdring's able to get the rally off at the very least, but Gesture is just blown up immediately. Quartermain is hacked, by the way. He cannot Sound Barrier, and even if he did in this moment, it wouldn't look good, but he may not have a choice. He goes for it. Quartermain only gets himself in Bidoshin. That's how split the Spitfire are right now. That's Sound Barrier on 2 players. Doesn't do much at all. It's a cry for help, a desperate attempt here for the London Spitfire. But nothing has gone right for this team today. Birdring is now slept. Prophet has to drop him with an EMP and hope it makes all the difference. He's looking for Shaxx, but he pulls the pin a little bit too early. Custer runs Birdring down. Earthshatter, Gesture, charging on away. He knows it is over, and the Valiants have emerged as one of the top teams in the Overwatch League in the space of just a couple of weeks. What a dominant showing from the home team. London look flabbergasted from start to finish.
And it's not like London has had a bad stage. You know, London's played New York twice during this stage. That's where, you know, majority of their losses come from. But I think you see today just how strong this Valiant team is. I also think it tells you something about the Hangzhou Spartan. They were able to beat this Valiant team the other day, man.
I mean, a lot of people are going to want to see Kareem get a player of the match or something similar. He definitely had an incredible end to the series. KSF, phenomenal. Fact Fiction continuing to be just, you know, a dominant Reinhardt player who spent so much time looking on as Overwatch League players went head-to-head on the stage. And Shaxx, I mean, this team is just full of incredible talent. Agility is also solid Farah performances over the course of this series. Multiple roles. Be very impressed by that one, I tell you what. Let's now head down to the stage, though, and get some words from the victor. It's Kareem with Danny.
Mitchell, Matt, thank you very much, LA Valiant fans. Wings out, everybody. I got Kareem here right next to me. Congratulations, Kareem, on the victory, on defeating the inaugural champions of Overwatch League, and also clinching a spot in the Stage 3 playoffs. A lot of congratulations, a lot of good things for you guys. I feel like you guys are very dominant today, and you guys really beat London Spitfire in their own game as well. How are you able to defeat them today? 오늘 승리 일단 너무 축하드리고요. 또 스테이지 3 프로도 진출하게 되셨는데 좀 많이 축하를 해드릴 수 있는 게 좀 많은 것 같아요. 오늘 경기 좀 어떻게 이기셨나요?
오늘 런던이 딜러 할 줄 알고 이제 DPS를 꺼내서 그냥 딜러 싸움을 붙자 했는데 저희 오늘 딜러들이 되게 잘해주셔가지고 이긴 것 같아요.
So going into the match, we knew that London Spitfire were going to use the DPS heavy composition. So going into the match, we told our DPS players to match the DPS and play against them with DPS versus DPS. And I feel like LA Valiant's DPS players were a lot better today, and that's why we won. Congratulations. And also, talking about you, Kareem, you're also known as one of the best Ana players in the league. Along with a few names like, you know, Yu Jae-hong, Jonak, but Kareem, what makes you special? What makes you unique as a Ana player compared to Yu Jae-hong or Jonak or many other players? 아무래도 뭐 쪼닥 선수나 류정 선수나 좀 많은 아나 잘하는 아나 선수들이 많은데 카리브 선수가 보셨을 때는 그중 한 명으로서 좀 특별한 점이 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
저는 좀 경기 날이나 좀 중요한 대회 때 페인트볼을 자주 해요.
Any matches that's really important, even going into a match, when I'm playing on stage, I play a lot of on a paintball. And do you feel like that helped you a lot? 좀 on a paintball이 굉장히 많이 도움이 됐나요?
네, 손이 되게 잘 풀리고 무엇보다 되게 현란해가지고 그 게임이 되게 저한테 도움이 많이 되는 것 같아요.
It's a really good way to practice. It really warms me up well. So if you're an honor player, guys, play paintball if it's an important match. Alrighty, Crave, thank you so much. Mitch and Matt, back to you guys.
Yes, the old Anna paintball. I believe, when the Valiant beat the Titans, it was Fran who was out on Twitter saying that Kareem farmed me earlier today in Anna paintball. I knew he was going to win. So a lot of top players really enjoy jumping into that. But what a series! One of the most fun 4-0s I think I've covered there. London, though, definitely even that last round of map 1 looked like they started to run out of ideas.
Yeah, I think a lot to learn if you're the London Spitfire. Towards the end, you tried to beat them in the mirror, and it didn't really look good. I think you take a lot of the tape from this match, and I think you start building, a foundation moving forward in the new meta.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for these two teams, there's still a run-up. The Valiant, though, check this out. 5-2 with a +11 map differential. That is honestly astounding for this team to have turned around this way. Some of the stories in this league blow my mind. Fact, stranger than fiction.
What's wild is that they're in 5th right now, with a lot of other teams have some matches to play. They could finish 5-2 with like a +11 map differential, and there still could be like 2 more teams even ahead of them. Like, that's how strong, like really top-heavy the Stage 3 has been.
It's been a great Stage 3
yeah.
For the Valiant in general. Let's talk about our player of the match, though. Presented to you by Omen by HP. Korea fans, don't at me, because this man really dominated at the start of the series. KSF, what a stunning performance on Widowmaker out of the gates. His Zarya performance on Volskaya was fantastic. He continued to make big impact throughout the series.
The Hanzo on Hollywood to save the point A cap a few times, and I feel like he was one of the more difficult positions of the Valiant. It's like we had seen him play before, and you were like, all right, like okay, Zeph, like we'll see how it goes. But he's really kind of turning around. I mean, he has been playing lights out as of late. Was huge today, especially playing in that double sniper setup against Prophet and Birdring. Huge game.
Just really impressed. This guy was brought on as a player to develop, not a star at the time he was brought across. But he's young, he's talented. His nickname is an acronym for his real name, so I do respect that. And he's definitely looking like he's going to be developing into one of those stars of tomorrow. Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And keep your eyes on this team, because they're going to show us a little bit more coming into the playoffs. Our next match, though, Matt, is going to be quite the interesting one as well. The Toronto Defiant take on the LA Gladiators.
Yeah, a lot of new look players for the Toronto Defiant.
Big signings.
They've signed Logic, they've signed Mangachu now, so it'll be exciting. And Gods, last week, so be excited to see if any of those guys get some game time.
That's it. Some of the best hairstyles in the league coming at you right after this one. Don't go anywhere. Gladiators take on Defiant right after these messages.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.